the CIA's Weeping Angel program turned your Samsung Smart TV into a listening post using fake-off mode. The screen is dark, but the internal microphone is silently recording every conversation. This perfect domestic deception is merely the prologue to the far greater story of a phone platform built for criminals that became the world's largest mass surveillance trap for the FBI. The secret life of a smart device. As the digital world sleeps, quiet truths remain hidden behind the sleek facades of modern convenience. And one must wonder what truly happens when the power light finally fades. It is a subtle deception, a masterclass in exploiting an existing presence, allowing a quiet intrusion that leaves no physical trace. This principle, known in the trade as living off the land, allows surveillance to occur not through the planting of new bugs, but through the ingenious repurposing of devices already welcomed into the most private of spaces. Imagine, if you will, the serene, darkened setting of a bedroom, where a Samsung smart television rests quietly on a cabinet. To all appearances, the device is off, a silent rectangle of glass blending into the night. But within its integrated circuitry, a secret program lies dormant, awaiting a peculiar, precise sequence of input. This digital anomaly, known to the Central Intelligence Agency as a Weeping Angel, was born from the realization that the simplest acts of exploitation often yield the most profound results. A television, once merely a source of moving pictures and sound, had evolved into a sophisticated, multi-purpose listening post, complete with its own internal microphone designed to process voice commands. When a user presses the power button, the expectation is simple. The device ceases all function, returning the room to its solitude. Yet, within the architecture of these smart devices, that cessation of function is often merely an illusion. The core of the Weeping Angel exploit relied upon a feature so subtle, so counterintuitive, that it bypassed all common sense regarding electronic function. It leveraged a latent, rarely understood mode known as fake-off. This mode could be activated not by any visible setting, but by a clandestine, highly specific combination of commands. The user first activates the mute function, followed by a sequence of 3 numeric inputs, 1, 8, and 2, and finally, the power button. When this precise sequence is executed, the television screen goes dark, the operational LEDs extinguish, and the device appears entirely inert, indistinguishable from a television that has been properly powered down. But within its central processing unit, the subtle electrical pulse of life continues, and a single, critical component remains active. When the television is truly off, the internal microphone, installed to facilitate hands-free control, is electrically isolated and silent. It hears nothing. But in the fake-off state, the microphone's power supply remains uninterrupted, turning it into a silent digital ear. The software implanted by the Central Intelligence Agency exploited this continuous power flow, activating a specialized piece of spyware. This software would quietly begin to record all audio captured by the microphone, transforming the ostensibly inert television into a covert recording studio. All conversations, all movements, all the ambient sounds of the room were captured, digitized, and stored in a compressed format onto the television's internal flash memory. Consider the efficiency and elegance of this method. A Central Intelligence Agency operative, tasked with planting a listening device in a high-value target's residence, would face significant risks. The introduction of an external electronic bug requires physical access, carries the danger of discovery, and leaves a forensic trail. By contrast, the Weeping Angel exploit offered a seamless alternative. Upon identifying the presence of a targetable Samsung Smart TV, the operative could infiltrate the network, remotely or physically, to upload the malicious software. A brief execution of the mute 1, 8, 2, and power sequence, and the device was deployed. There was no foreign hardware left behind, no trace of tampering, only the silent, unassuming television waiting for its master to return. Retrieving the harvested intelligence was equally discreet. The Central Intelligence Agency operative could either establish a remote connection through a network vulnerability to download the stored audio files over a secure, encrypted channel, or, if a return visit was required, they could physically access the device and retrieve the data, leaving the spyware intact and ready for future use. This capacity to turn an everyday consumer electronics product into a persistent, remotely accessible tool of espionage offered an unprecedented level of stealth and long-term utility, fundamentally changing the risk calculus of physical surveillance. The operation served as a profound reminder that privacy is not merely protected by what one refuses to bring into their space, but also by the silent, potential capabilities of what is already there. This concept of exploiting everyday technology, of using the very tools designed for convenience as pathways for quiet intrusion, is what cybersecurity professionals refer to as living off the land techniques. It minimizes the digital and physical footprint of the intruder by relying on accepted, legitimate components of the target's environment. This technique is not limited to state-sponsored actors. It is the ultimate expression of sophisticated, elegant compromise, turning the target's own infrastructure against them. The Weeping Angel provided a profound lesson that the best listening device is often the one a target willingly plugs into the wall. It shows that even in the quietest, most private of settings, an unseen battle for information is perpetually being waged. This drive for ultimate security, this desire to eliminate all digital footprints, extends far beyond the realm of espionage. It is a fundamental need for anyone concerned with privacy in the digital age. The realization that ubiquitous consumer electronics could be repurposed for surveillance sparked a deep, quiet concern among those who value their digital solitude. It led many, including those who follow the darkest corners of the internet, to seek devices that were built from the ground up to resist this pervasive level of intrusion. They sought a phone stripped of its betraying features, a device that could truly be silent when asked to be. The inherent vulnerabilities demonstrated by devices like the Samsung Smart Television pushed a certain segment of the population toward extreme solutions for digital solitude. They understood that a conventional mobile phone, even when operating with a virtual private network, remains a subtle beacon, constantly revealing its location through the baseband technology of its subscriber identity module, or SIM card. These cards communicate with cellular towers entirely separate from the higher-level operating system, silently betraying the user's rough geographical coordinates, even if the device appears inactive or is running the best encryption software. The pursuit of perfect digital quietude, therefore, required nothing less than removing the SIM card itself, turning to devices like the now unsupported iPod Touch, or later, the modified iPad mini, to operate solely over Wi-Fi for communication. Such efforts represent the dedication to privacy, adopting operating systems like Graphene OS, a modified version of Android designed to eliminate data leakage back to its developers. The messaging applications chosen, like Signal, employ end-to-end encryption, ensuring that only the sender and the intended recipient possess the keys to decipher the content, blocking even the service provider from viewing the messages. This level of meticulous digital hygiene, the combination of hardware isolation and cryptographic security, became the gold standard, a quiet defense against the pervasive threat of surveillance, whether state-sponsored or criminal. And it was into this landscape of extreme security awareness that a new, highly specialized product quietly emerged. Its creators claimed to have synthesized all the lessons of modern espionage and privacy to engineer a phone that offered the ultimate sanctuary for its users. Its promises were absolute, its security features unprecedented, and its very existence was a magnet for those who valued secrecy above all else, regardless of the reasons why. This new, highly locked-down creation was named Anom, and its emergence was a subtle tremor in the digital underground. The promise of true digital solitude finally fulfilled. Its claims were seductive, and its technology was borrowed from the most hardened of open-source projects. However, hidden beneath its layers of digital armor lay an architectural secret, a profound, quiet deception that would soon turn the ultimate sanctuary into the ultimate trap. What the users believed was total privacy was, in fact, an open window for a shadow organization that possessed a relentless, insatiable hunger for information. The dark wire's origin. The true heart of any grand deception is not found in the final reveal, but in the meticulous, often quiet work required to piece together the first fragments of its existence. One must delve into the very foundations of digital solitude to understand the scale of the surveillance, appreciating the years of disciplined reporting that finally brought this intricate story into the light. These accounts come from those who have spent half a decade navigating the hidden channels and encrypted enclaves of the dark web, those who seek out the unseen threads that connect the seemingly disparate worlds of privacy activism and global organized crime. The journalist's obsession began with a fundamental quest for digital security, recognizing that in the modern world, true privacy is not a default setting, but a highly curated and actively maintained state of being. The sheer volume of surveillance data, passively and actively collected by both corporations and governments, had reached a point where countermeasures had to be equally dedicated and unconventional. This commitment to digital hygiene required constant vigilance, beginning with the device itself, seeking an architecture designed for true discretion. The solution, for many, lay in stripping away the vulnerabilities inherent in standard commercial communication tools, turning instead to platforms specifically engineered to eliminate the possibility of data leakage and remote tracking. This foundational commitment to solitude was rooted in the understanding that the most insidious forms of surveillance often operate beneath the visible layers of the operating system. Take, for instance, the ubiquitous presence of a mobile phone's subscriber identity module, or SIM card. While a user might employ a virtual private network to mask their data traffic, believing their movements and communications to be hidden, the SIM card operates on a fundamentally different, lower level of radio communication. It must constantly and automatically communicate with the nearest cellular tower using baseband technology, an essential function for maintaining a connection. This baseband communication transmits raw, identifying data, constantly revealing the phone's precise location to the cellular provider, entirely bypassing and rendering useless any software-based encryption or virtual private network service running on the application layer. The SIM card, in essence, is a perpetual, silent tracking beacon, an electrical compromise baked into the core function of the device. To eliminate this fundamental flaw, the dedicated privacy advocate was compelled to abandon devices containing a cellular modem entirely. For a long period, this meant relying upon the now obsolete iPod Touch, a simple portable media player that shared the functional operating system of an iPhone, but crucially lacked the SIM card slot. All communications, calls, messages, and browsing were routed exclusively through Wi-Fi, allowing a user to communicate without ever emitting the constant location-betraying pings of baseband cellular technology. As the technological landscape evolved and the iPod Touch became unsupported, the torch of hardware isolation passed to devices like the iPad mini, still operated solely in Wi-Fi only mode, maintaining a steadfast dedication to this high-bar standard of digital silence. To complement this hardware discipline, the software stack had to be equally uncompromising. The native operating systems of most commercial devices were considered too leaky, too prone to sending telemetry and user data back to their corporate creators. This led to the adoption of custom, open-source operating systems, most notably Graphene OS, which is built on a foundation of Android, but meticulously hardened. Graphene OS is engineered specifically to prevent the constant background data transmission that typically flows back to Google, giving the user unprecedented control over their device's behavior and access permissions. The very core of the software's design is centered around the principle of digital minimalization, ensuring that only the actions a user explicitly initiates are ever executed. The final layer of this digital fortress was the communication channel itself, relying entirely on applications that guarantee end-to-end encryption. Services such as Signal are built upon sophisticated cryptographic protocols, ensuring that messages are immediately scrambled upon creation and can only be decrypted by the intended recipient. The communication service provider itself holds no key, sees no content, and therefore can reveal nothing, even under legal duress. This commitment to end-to-end encryption represents the gold standard for secure conversation, turning every message into a private, sealed package that travels across the public internet without ever exposing its contents. It is this profound understanding of sophisticated defense and the persistent pursuit of perfect digital privacy that frames the astonishing story of the Anom phone. The technology was, in every aspect, designed to appeal to those who held security and anonymity as their highest priorities. It claimed to have taken the rigorous principles of systems like Graphene OS and elevated them further, creating an operating environment so locked down, so free of external vulnerabilities, that it was positioned as the undisputed market leader for secure communication. The feature set was enticing, promising a level of discretion that surpassed even the most dedicated independent privacy efforts. The Anom device outwardly looked like any other smartphone, but beneath the surface, It was a ghost. It claimed to have completely excised all global positioning system functionality at the software and firmware level, ensuring that no application, no matter how maliciously coded, could ever reveal the user's location. It was a commitment to the principle of digital solitude that resonated deeply with its target demographic. But the ultimate expression of its intended use lay in its stealth and obfuscation features, acknowledging that its users were people with secrets they needed to protect, often from the scrutiny of law enforcement. The device featured a host of deceptive apps, innocuous distractions like Tinder or Candy Crush, that were entirely functionless, existing solely as decoys to mislead a casual observer who might glance at the screen. The true messaging application, the highly secure, end-to-end encrypted chat service, was not only hidden, but protected by a multi-layered barrier. It was secreted within what appeared to be a perfectly normal, functional calculator application. A user could enter a complex equation, tally a bill, or perform any ordinary mathematical task, but only upon inputting a specific, secret, personal identification number would the chat service be revealed. The calculator would transform, opening the hidden application, accessible only to the initiated. This dual-purpose software, the calculated deceit built into the user interface, offered a powerful shield against quick seizure or casual inspection. Beyond the visible layers of camouflage, the ANOM service offered advanced features for complete self-destruction and voice obfuscation. The application included the ability to send self-deleting messages, ensuring that digital conversations left no persistent record, vanishing moments after they were read. Furthermore, for users who preferred voice memos over text, ANOM provided a voice scrambling option, applying either a high-pitched distortion or a low, deep modulation to the voice note, effectively masking the sender's true identity. The combination of hardware isolation, extreme software hardening, and these layers of digital subterfuge made the ANOM platform a singularly attractive product. This sophisticated phone, however, was not born from the desire to serve the average privacy advocate. It was conceived and engineered for a market that required absolute secrecy for a very specific, often illicit purpose. The phone was the brainchild of an individual known in the digital underworld as Afgu, described as a profoundly talented yet discreet technical expert operating within the criminal sphere. Afgu was directly connected to notorious figures like Hakan Ayik, a man once considered Australia's most wanted criminal, illustrating the deep roots of the enterprise within organised crime. Afgu had worked for other secure phone providers before recognizing an opportunity to build a superior, entirely autonomous platform, a tech startup dedicated to the exclusive service of the criminal underground. This conscious, deliberate choice to cater solely to a criminal clientele is what transformed the act of selling a secure communications tool into a legally fraught and ethically complicated venture. While the sale of end-to-end encrypted software is and should remain perfectly legal for all citizens, the explicit marketing and architectural focus on facilitating crime crosses a critical boundary. The company's own internal mantra was a brazen and ultimately foolish declaration, designed for criminals by criminals. This singular focus established ANOM not as a protector of general privacy rights, but as an essential facilitator of organized crime, a distinction that would ultimately draw a profound and dangerous level of attention from the highest reaches of international law enforcement. The Aenon phone, therefore, was not merely a device. It was an open invitation to a highly specific, secretive, global community. And so, as Aenon took its place at the apex of the criminal encrypted phone market, offering a perceived shield of technological invincibility, the stage was set for the greatest digital double cross in modern history. The architecture that promised total silence was, in reality, a digital megaphone, and the highly secured communications of the world's most dangerous people were about to fall into the hands of the very forces they desperately sought to evade. This quiet deception began with the delivery of a pristine, technically superb device, but it concluded with the exposure of thousands of secrets, an act of betrayal made possible by a hidden line of code. The ultimate bargain was about to be made. The illusion of solitude. The heart of the digital deception lay concealed beneath a perfect facade of functional code and familiar applications, creating a powerful illusion of impregnable security, where, in truth, an architectural flaw had been carefully and quietly embedded. This phone, marketed as the pinnacle of discretion, was a ghost in the hand, its outward design and internal architecture dedicated entirely to the promise of ultimate solitude. The users believed they held the most private device available, a fortress against the encroaching eyes of the world. Yet the very mechanisms they trusted had been subtly redirected to a shadow recipient. The Aenon device, in its physical form, was deceptively ordinary, often based on commercial hardware like the Google Pixel. However, the operating environment it ran was anything but conventional, having been meticulously engineered to eliminate every possible vector for unwanted data egress. The developers started with a fork of Graphene OS, the already privacy-focused modification of the Android operating system. This foundation was then further locked down, stripped of all standard telemetry and tracking mechanisms, creating a bare, hardened shell designed for maximum anonymity. Crucially, the Aenon creators claimed to have permanently removed all global positioning system functionality, ensuring that the device could never be accurately located through satellite triangulation. This feature alone was a deep source of comfort to a clientele constantly seeking to evade detection. The true genius of the device, however, lay in its obfuscation, the deliberate use of camouflage to hide its primary function in plain sight. An observer casually inspecting the phone's home screen would see a scattering of familiar, innocuous applications, perhaps a simulated social media platform, a simple video game like Candy Crush, or a dating service like Tinder. These were merely dummy apps, entirely non-functional decoys intended to satisfy a quick visual search and mislead anyone who might seize the device for a superficial inspection. This layer of deceit was designed to create an immediate and convincing impression of normalcy. The pathway to the secure communication service required a secret ritual, a meticulous act of digital ingress designed to repel all but the most determined search. The chat application itself was not visibly listed. Instead, it was secreted behind a functioning utility, a simple, reliable calculator application. Upon opening the calculator, a user could perform any normal function, addition, subtraction, complex equations, and the app would perform as expected. This was the first layer of trust. But if the user entered a specific, secret, and predetermined personal identification number, the calculator screen would instantly transform melting away to reveal the hidden Anom chat messenger. This ingenious cloaking mechanism, a password concealed within a computational tool, offered a formidable defense against a quick police seizure or an abusive partner's desperate rummaging, ensuring that the critical evidence was buried beneath layers of believable functionality. This highly specialized phone was the creation of a figure known as Afgu, a man who quietly maintained a reputation as one of the criminal underworld's most talented and innovative tech experts. Afgu was not an outsider. He had honed his skills within the ecosystem of other encrypted phone companies, understanding their vulnerabilities and the precise needs of their clientele. Recognizing the lucrative potential, he chose to launch his own venture, intending to capture the entire market by offering a technically superior, more rigorously isolated device. This decision elevated him from a mere seller to a technological architect, creating a tech startup dedicated exclusively to organized crime. The company's marketing was audacious, a reckless embrace of its target demographic. Its slogan was unapologetic, designed for criminals, by criminals. This bold declaration solidified Anom's position as the trusted platform for illicit activity, signaling to the world's criminal syndicates that this was a service built with their unique requirements in mind. Yet, this very intentionality is what stripped Anom of any legal or moral defense that might be claimed by a general-purpose encryption service. It transformed the creation of a secure phone from an act of defending universal privacy rights into an act of criminal facilitation. The fundamental question then arises: what separates a legitimate privacy tool, which criminals might incidentally use, from a tool specifically intended to enable crime? The distinction is found not in the technology itself, but in the explicit intent of the business model. Consider the illustrative metaphor of the hammer, a simple, universally useful tool. If a company were to design and market a hammer exclusively to criminals, adding features like a non-slip handle for when blood gets on it, or a dual-purpose head for injury and penetration, the tool remains just a hammer. Yet, the sole acknowledged intention of its sale transforms the manufacturer from a hardware supplier into an accessory to crime. The Anom device occupied this precise moral and legal territory, providing a technically sophisticated tool with the express purpose of generating criminal profit. The Anom phones offered a suite of other features designed to guarantee the security of criminal communication. Beyond the hidden chat application, the service promised end-to-end encryption on all messages, photos, and voice memos. The voice scrambling function, offering high-pitched or deep, low distortions, provided an extra layer of anonymity, protecting the user's vocal signature from identification. The ability to remotely wipe the phone, deleting all data in the event of seizure or loss, was another critical feature that instilled enormous confidence in its criminal users. Anom presented itself as the last line of defense, the ultimate digital sanctuary. The marketing worked flawlessly. Criminal organizations worldwide, having witnessed the spectacular takedowns of earlier encrypted phone providers, flocked to Anom, drawn by the promise of superior, uncompromised technology and the assurance that its owners shared their ethos. The phones were expensive, operating on a subscription model that reflected their elite status and the perceived quality of their security. Anom quickly ascended to the apex of the underground market, a seemingly unassailable fortress of cryptographic security. But this perceived solitude was a masterful piece of theatre. The bedrock promise of end-to-end encryption, which should have guaranteed privacy, was, in reality, the precise point of failure. The messages were indeed cryptographically sealed, but they were not, as the users believed, exclusively destined for their intended recipient. The encryption was subtly, but fundamentally, compromised. Unbeknownst to the user base, a single secret contact had been surgically added to every single conversation thread that occurred across the platform. This ghost recipient was designed to operate entirely in the background, a silent eavesdropper that received a duplicate of every communication. In the lexicon of electronic messaging, this is known as a blind carbon copy, or BCC. This means that when criminal A sent a message to criminal B discussing a massive drug shipment or a planned act of violence, that encrypted message was simultaneously transmitted to the recipient and to the invisible, listening presence of ANOM's own server. The encryption was therefore technically functional, but strategically misdirected. The data was indeed end-to-end encrypted, but in a convoluted, hidden manner that could be more accurately described as end-to-end-to-end encrypted. The extra end in the sequence was the one that mattered most, the secret destination that received the perfect, fully decrypted copy of every word, photo, and voice memo. The users were none the wiser, completely secure in their belief that they were talking solely to their contacts. It was as if every private conversation in a sealed room had a concealed microphone feeding directly to an invisible external observer. This quiet, continuous interception transformed the entire ANOM platform. It was no longer a secure communications tool. It was a vast, self-sustaining mass surveillance engine, built, funded, and populated by the world's most dangerous criminals. The very act of seeking ultimate privacy had ironically placed them all into a single, perfectly monitored digital panopticon. This betrayal of trust, hidden deep within the custom software, was the core of the unprecedented digital operation, turning the criminal's quest for ultimate solitude into the greatest digital backdoor ever conceived. The key to this entire scheme, this architectural deception, was the man at the center, Afgu. Having constructed the platform and proven its market viability among criminals, he was now in possession of a global river of highly sensitive, real-time criminal intelligence. The value of this information was incalculable, and it provided him with the ultimate currency for a deal with the highest echelon of law enforcement. With the ghost contact silently collecting every secret, Afgu was holding the keys to the kingdom, and the time for the ultimate bargain was rapidly approaching. This was not merely the end of a product's life cycle. It was the quiet opening of a floodgate. The ultimate bargain. The moment the digital illusion was complete, the creator of ANOM found himself standing upon a treasure trove of secrets, holding a currency more valuable than any drug or stolen asset. And the hour for a calculated betrayal had arrived. The sheer volume of continuous, real-time criminal intelligence flowing through the platform presented a profound danger to its architect, Afgu, forcing a radical re-evaluation of his survival strategy in the digital underground. For a figure deeply enmeshed in the world of organized crime, the possession of such a vast, compromising network was less a triumph of business and more a ticking legal time bomb. It is a quiet truth of the criminal world that even the most secure ventures eventually face collapse, often through internal strife or the inevitable attention of international law enforcement. Afgu, a technician first and a criminal associate second, understood the inherent fragility of running a secure communication service that openly catered to illicit activity. He was walking a tightrope between enormous profit and catastrophic federal indictment. The act of designing a platform for criminals by criminals, as the company's reckless slogan proclaimed, eliminated any legal pretense of simply selling a general privacy tool. Historically, the leaders of similar encrypted phone networks had faced swift and severe legal consequences. For Afgu, the existence of the ghost contact, the architectural flaw that diverted every message to his servers, was not just a business advantage, it was his ultimate necessary bargaining chip. The shift in allegiance was swift and driven by a cold, calculating pragmatism. Guided by legal counsel, Afgu approached the American authorities with an astonishing proposal. He would voluntarily surrender the real-time access to the entire ANOM network, turning over the keys to the world's most active criminal chat platform. The price for this unprecedented betrayal was equally clear: full leniency or immunity should he ever face charges for his role in creating and distributing the criminal communications enterprise. It was the ultimate necessary insurance policy, exchanging the potential for a lifetime of wealth for the guarantee of personal freedom. This proposition, once presented, set in motion a rapid and highly secret series of negotiations with the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, and critically, the Australian Federal Police, or AFP. The involvement of the Australian authorities was particularly significant. For years, the AFP had been crippled by the pervasive adoption of encrypted phones by organised crime groups across the continent. Notorious biker gangs like the Comancheros and the Hells Angels, alongside established syndicates like the Italian Mafia, relied heavily on these secure devices, rendering traditional wiretaps and surveillance techniques completely useless. The constant frustration had left investigators with an acute sense of helplessness, watching crime unfold without the ability to intervene. When the possibility of a permanent, undetectable backdoor into a major encrypted network was presented to the Australian authorities, the reaction was visceral and immediate. Reports from those involved described the moment as being akin to kids on Christmas morning, a euphoric realization that years of stagnation were about to end. The prospect of having a window into the inner workings of Australia's most powerful criminal enterprises was an opportunity that transcended all normal legal or bureaucratic caution. For the AFP, this was not merely a source of intelligence, it was an unexpected and profound victory in a long, silent war. The negotiation concluded with a decisive agreement, formalizing ANOM's transition from a criminal enterprise into a secret, state-sponsored surveillance mechanism. The architect, Afgu, was paid a sum of approximately $120,000, along with an additional $60,000 for related travel and expenses, a meager fee for the magnitude of the intelligence he provided. In exchange, the ANOM platform essentially became an FBI tech company, funded and operated by the American agency. The FBI assumed the responsibility for the platform's ongoing costs and technical infrastructure, covering the bill for servers, bandwidth, and the procurement of off-the-shelf Android hardware, which would be flashed with the custom ANOM operating system. The most powerful law enforcement agency in the United States was now secretly running a specialized, highly sophisticated tech startup, not for the benefit of American commerce or defense, but for the expressed purpose of facilitating surveillance on a global scale. The absurdity of the situation, the FBI funding, maintaining, and secretly operating a communications platform designed explicitly for criminals, was lost on neither the agents nor the journalists who eventually uncovered the story. The arrangement was a masterpiece of compartmentalization and deliberate deception. The criminal customers believed they were paying for elite security. The developers believed they were coding an enterprise application. And the distributors believed they were selling a cutting-edge privacy tool. Only a tiny select circle within the FBI and AFP knew the ultimate truth, that every message sent was being quietly mirrored and analyzed. This massive, coordinated deception would require immense operational discipline to prevent any accidental leak that might expose the vulnerability and cause the entire network to vanish into the digital ether. The first challenge for the newly installed surveillance agency was practical. The network had almost no users yet. ANOM was a functional product with a deadly backdoor, but it was useless without a thriving criminal population. The law enforcement partners immediately pivoted from technical development to a highly targeted, aggressive marketing strategy. They needed to quickly and convincingly distribute the phones to the very organized crime figures they sought to ensnare. The plan was clear: get the devices into the hands of key distributors, known figures who commanded respect and influence within the criminal sphere, and rely on the power of peer trust to drive mass adoption. This process began when AFGU provided a batch of the phones to a specific, well-connected criminal dealer in Australia named Domenico Catanzariti. Catanzariti was a high-level drug trafficker who had previously served as a key distributor for Phantom Secure, one of ANOM's now defunct competitors. With Phantom Secure shut down by authorities, Catanzariti was left without a product. The appearance of ANOM, heralded as the next big thing, was perfectly timed. The phones were initially provided to him for free, a highly aggressive Silicon Valley-style growth technique designed to rapidly achieve market saturation. The goal was to flood the most influential criminal networks with the device, generating immediate word-of-mouth promotion based on its sleek design and perceived security. The strategy worked with quiet precision. Early users, impressed by the device's seamless functionality and hardened features, quickly spread the word. As Catanzariti and others began actively marketing the phones, the network began to buzz with real-time conversations. And for the Australian Federal Police, the stream of intelligence began to flow with astonishing clarity. They were given instantaneous, real-time access to chats, voice memos, and photos, providing an unvarnished window into the daily planning and operations of major crime. The agents could suddenly read messages detailing violent acts, conversations from the Comancheros plotting severe assaults, or biker gangs coordinating the precise time and location for a weapons drop-off involving high-caliber assault rifles. It was a digital curtain being pulled back, revealing a level of criminal intent and logistics that had previously been impenetrable. The temptation to act immediately upon this flood of damning intelligence was immense. But the strategic necessity of protecting the operation from discovery was even greater. The dilemma was absolute. To make an immediate, successful arrest would expose the ANOM backdoor and cause the entire criminal network to instantly abandon the phone, shutting down the surveillance operation forever. The authorities had to decide constantly whether a single act of justice was worth sacrificing the ongoing intelligence on thousands of criminals. The decision for a prolonged period was always to wait, to observe, and to protect the ultimate prize, the integrity of the unseen digital pipeline. This quiet sacrifice of immediate justice for a grander future reckoning would define the entire course of the unprecedented operation. The veil of parallel construction. The most difficult moral challenge of the entire operation was not the initial act of deception, but the continuous, quiet necessity of maintaining it, forcing law enforcement into a perpetual state of carefully constructed lies to protect their ultimate secret. The intelligence flowing from the ANOM network was a constant, damning stream, illuminating violent crimes and major drug deals in real time. Yet acting on that knowledge required an elaborate and highly sensitive masquerade. Every successful arrest risked unraveling the technological tapestry that had been so painstakingly woven. The Australian Federal Police, or AFP, were the first to wrestle with this ethical and operational dilemma. They possessed instantaneous, real-time access to communications detailing the movement of illicit goods, the coordination of criminal enterprises, and even the planning of violent acts. To simply ignore these revelations was unthinkable. Their mandate demanded intervention. Yet, to reveal the source of this intelligence, to admit in court that they had access to every encrypted chat message on the ANOM platform, would instantly destroy the operation. The moment the criminals understood the phone was compromised, the flow of intelligence would immediately cease, sacrificing a vast, long-term global surveillance asset for the sake of a few immediate arrests. This unique operational conundrum necessitated the adoption of a deeply controversial and ethically intricate tactic known as parallel construction. This method involved creating an entirely fabricated narrative to justify the arrest or seizure, building a plausible, legally acceptable case that mirrored the secret intelligence without ever mentioning its true source. In essence, the law enforcement agencies were compelled to lie on the official record, constructing a visible set of facts to obscure the invisible reality of their surveillance. Imagine the scene. AFP agents read an ANOM message detailing a specific time, location, and cargo for a high-value shipment of cocaine. To intervene, they could not simply arrive at the location. Instead, they would be forced to work backward, utilizing existing, legitimate investigative resources to create an alternate, verifiable origin story for their intelligence. They might claim a low-level informant provided the tip, or suggest that the information was gathered through routine border surveillance, or perhaps a sudden, random surge in the activities of a previously known associate. The written intelligence reports and the subsequent court documents would meticulously omit any mention of ANOM or the encrypted chat messages. The official narrative was simple. The crime was discovered through conventional policing, an act of astute detective work. This constant, high-wire act demanded an exceptional degree of coordination and discretion. Every agent involved in an ANOM-related arrest had to be briefed on the pre-approved cover story, ensuring that any public statement or court testimony remained absolutely consistent with the fabricated narrative. It was a secret, shared theater of operational deceit designed to maintain the criminals' absolute faith in the security of their devices. The belief that a mole or a rat existed within their own organizations, an easier deduction than believing their state-of-the-art encryption was entirely compromised, was essential to keeping the Anon network operational. The philosophical implications of this strategy were profound. On the one hand, parallel construction allowed law enforcement to save lives and interdict massive amounts of drugs and illegal firearms, justifying the means by the magnitude of the ends. They achieved unprecedented victories against organized crime without compromising their singular, long-term intelligence advantage. This immediate, positive outcome provided powerful ethical cover for the agents involved, who often viewed the tactic as a necessary evil to ensure greater future justice. On the other hand, the practice directly violated the fundamental principles of transparency and judicial honesty that underpin democratic legal systems. Law enforcement officers required to swear oaths of truthfulness were actively lying to the courts about the origin of their evidence. This introduced a deeply unsettling element into the justice system. Defendants were being convicted based on fabricated evidence trails, a fact that would be deeply concerning to any observer concerned with civil liberties and due process. The agents found themselves in a unique ethical paradox. They were upholding the law by simultaneously subverting a critical element of its procedural honesty. This operational tension permeated the entire effort. Agents involved spoke of the constant burden, the need to carefully weigh the justice issue, the immediate ethical cost of fabricating a story against the intelligence issue, the catastrophic long-term loss of the Anon backdoor. They were constantly fighting the urge to go too loud too quickly, knowing that one premature, honest disclosure could instantly erase years of planning and investment. The core dilemma raised fundamental questions about the accountability of law enforcement agencies themselves. Who gave the authorization for federal police to engage in this form of deception? Was there proper oversight or policy in place that sanctioned working with a criminal like Afgu, the architect of a system designed to facilitate crime, and then actively lying to the public about the source of the intelligence? These actions skirted the established rules of engagement, operating in a shadowy space where the urgency of the mission superseded the clarity of policy. Consider the historical cautionary tale of Operation Fast and Furious, an initiative run by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, in the United States. In that operation, the agency intentionally facilitated the sale of thousands of weapons to criminal organizations, hoping to trace them to high-level cartel figures. The ends, disrupting major weapons smuggling networks, were deemed to justify the means, arming criminals. Yet, the operation resulted in a catastrophic loss of control, with the guns ultimately being used in countless crimes, including the murder of a Border Patrol agent. The Fast and Furious operation served as a bleak reminder of what happens when law enforcement operates without sufficient strategy, accountability, or adherence to its own policies. It demonstrated that a noble goal can never fully justify an operation that risks arming or empowering the very criminals it seeks to stop. The ANOM operation, by becoming the tech backbone of organized crime for a period, carried a similarly heavy burden of ethical risk. The FBI and AFP were actively ensuring that the criminal underworld possessed a state-of-the-art, reliable communications tool, a crucial element for their success. The immediate gains in intelligence were staggering, but the long-term implications of governmental deception, the institutionalization of parallel construction, and the creation of a vast global surveillance platform posed deep questions that society was not given the chance to debate. The most senior officials in both the American and Australian Justice Departments quietly permitted this deception to continue, recognizing the unprecedented intelligence advantage it conferred. They were, in effect, sanctioning a strategy that required their agents to become master storytellers and operational actors, forever obscuring the true source of their greatest victories. This acceptance of ambiguity and procedural dishonesty created a quiet, internal fracture within the foundations of law enforcement itself. The secrets of ANOM were thus protected not just by encryption, but by a pervasive, carefully managed veil of official silence. As the months passed and the ANOM network continued to grow, the flow of intelligence intensified, compelling the law enforcement agencies to act with increasing frequency. Every intervention was a complex puzzle, requiring days of planning to devise a believable cover story that would satisfy the courts and the criminals alike. This quiet, repetitive dance of deception, arresting one criminal only to watch the remaining users continue their conversations, absolutely confident in their digital solitude, was a slow-motion study in human and technological manipulation. The time when this careful balance would be irrevocably shattered was rapidly approaching. An FBI tech startup, the clandestine operation had quietly settled into a state of profound institutional irony. The premier law enforcement agency of the United States had transformed itself in secret into a commercial technology venture. This was not the work of field agents chasing suspects down an alley, but of computer scientists and budget analysts maintaining the digital infrastructure of a global criminal communications network. The astonishing shift began the moment the deal with AFGU, the ANOM creator, was finalized. What the criminal world saw as the secure future of their communication was now officially, though secretly, an FBI tech company. The Bureau, by accepting the terms of the ultimate bargain, had taken on the profound logistical and financial responsibility of maintaining a massive international enterprise. They became the silent financiers, the infrastructure architects, and the system operators for the world's organized crime. This unprecedented arrangement meant that every cost, from server maintenance to hardware procurement, was now covered by the American taxpayer. The Federal Bureau of Investigation took control of the infrastructure, quietly paying for the server space and bandwidth that routed and stored the millions of encrypted messages. They managed the technical backbone that ensured the ANOM platform was stable, fast, and, most crucially, always available. The operational success of the surveillance was entirely dependent on the criminals believing their service was robust and reliable. Had the ANOM network experienced significant downtime or persistent technical issues, suspicion would have instantly mounted, forcing the criminal user base to migrate to a competitor. The FBI's primary technical task was therefore to ensure that the criminal enterprise ran with seamless, professional efficiency. Beyond the digital backbone, the FBI was also responsible for procuring the physical devices themselves. The ANOM service was delivered on specially modified, commercial off-the-shelf Android hardware, typically sourced from models like the Google Pixel. Agents or their intermediaries had to quietly acquire this hardware in bulk, a meticulous process of inventory and logistics. Each device then required the installation or flashing of the custom ANOM operating system, the Graphene OS fork that contained the hidden ghost contact functionality. This meant the FBI was running a full-scale distribution supply chain, managing the entire life cycle of a product meant for illicit use. The irony of G-men quietly running a logistics operation for what they perceived to be the most wanted individuals was a quiet testament to the sheer depth of the operation. The vast majority of the ANOM company ecosystem, the developers, the sellers, and the distributors, remained completely unaware of their true owner. This level of compartmentalization was critical to the mission's success. Afgu, the initial creator, had masterfully siloed the operation, ensuring that the development team had no interaction with the criminal distribution network, and neither group knew anything of the intelligence agency that was now footing the bill. Consider the ordinary developers hired through freelance job boards to code an app for what they were told was an enterprise communications platform. One such developer, who the journalist referred to as Athit, believed he was building a secure service for large corporations, specifically banks and finance firms, that required the ability to archive and audit their employee messages for compliance and legal reasons. This practice, known as archival functionality, is surprisingly common in highly regulated industries. For instance, the Customs and Border Protection, part of the Department of Homeland Security, uses an enterprise version of the encrypted app Wicker, which, while offering encryption, allows administrators to maintain a legal archive of all conversations. This was the cover story provided by Afgu. The ghost contact was merely the administrator function, designed to secretly copy messages for the client company's internal audit purposes. The developers coded the application believing they were facilitating corporate compliance. They never knew that their client was the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and that their corporate users were the heads of global drug cartels and organized crime syndicates. This carefully managed narrative allowed the technical production of the backdoor to occur under the pretense of perfectly legitimate business development. The operational secrecy extended to the criminal distributors, who acted as the resellers and believed they were purchasing the cutting edge of privacy technology. They aggressively promoted the ANOM phone, capitalizing on the recent takedowns of competitors like Phantom Secure and EncroChat. They pitched the device with confidence, citing its hidden calculator app, remote wipe function, and purported end-to-end encryption. The fact that the FBI was sponsoring the phone's stability and technological quality only made the product more appealing and reliable for the criminals, driving sales and rapidly expanding the surveillance net. The compartmentalization was a remarkable feat of long-term operational planning. The various groups, the technical coders, the hardware suppliers, the criminal distributors, and the intelligence readers, never communicated, and their segregated knowledge was the primary shield against discovery. The sheer risk of such a fragile secret leaking was immense, but the integrity of the silos held at least for a prolonged period, allowing the network to grow beyond initial expectations. As ANOM expanded, the intelligence flowing to the Australian Federal Police intensified, revealing a complex tapestry of crime. The AFP was soon faced with a critical mass of actionable information that required intervention. The early intelligence was raw and shocking. Biker gangs discussing specific locations for weapons caches, syndicate leaders coordinating multi-kilogram drug imports, and continuous planning for violent retribution against rivals. The temptation to act on this undeniable evidence was a daily burden for the agents. The agency's initial stance was to prioritize intelligence gathering, adhering to the strategic mandate of protecting the golden egg, the ANOM backdoor. But as the intelligence grew more specific and related to imminent threats, the ethical calculus began to change. The internal tension mounted between the strategic goal of mass arrests and the immediate moral necessity of saving lives or preventing large-scale crime. This pressure forced the AFP to carefully and strategically deploy the tactics of parallel construction, creating cover stories for targeted busts while allowing the vast majority of the network's communications to flow unchecked, maintaining the criminals' complete confidence in their compromised devices. This quiet, successful launch of the ANOM platform, powered by FBI funds, secured by its infrastructure, and populated by a rapidly growing criminal user base, set the stage for the operation's next phase. The network was now operational, proven, and rapidly expanding beyond the confines of Australia. The wealth of information being collected was about to attract the attention of new foreign partners who would bring their own unique needs and jurisdictional challenges to the table. The FBI's tech startup had outgrown its first test market and was about to go global, multiplying the complexity and the moral weight of the entire deception. The net was cast, and the entire criminal underworld was quietly, confidently swimming into the hands of the authorities. The perils of means and ends. The silent operation, while yielding a staggering bounty of criminal secrets, rested upon a profoundly delicate moral foundation. The constant internal debate over whether the magnitude of the ultimate outcome could truly justify the daily necessity of deceit and compromise. This question, does the successful end truly sanctify the controversial means, became the invisible ethical weight carried by every individual involved in the ANOM surveillance. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Australian Federal Police were achieving unprecedented success against organised crime, quietly dismantling syndicates by reading their plans in real time. Yet, to maintain this extraordinary advantage, they were compelled to engage in actions that skirted or even openly violated the foundational principles of their own operational policies and the very legal frameworks they were sworn to uphold. The operational reality required a continuous embrace of paradox. To fight crime, they had to facilitate the tools of crime. To maintain judicial integrity, they had to employ parallel construction, a systematic deception of the courts. One must calmly reflect upon the inherent dangers of an agency operating in the shadows, creating its own rules for engagement in pursuit of a perceived greater good. The danger lies not just in the immediate moral lapse, but in the institutional precedent it establishes, creating a slippery slope where expediency gradually erodes accountability. The case of ANOM, in its very structure, embodied this risk. A a government agency was collaborating with a known criminal, Afgu, the architect of the platform, and funding a product explicitly designed to facilitate drug trafficking, violence, and money laundering. The most senior officials who sanctioned this arrangement were operating in a space where they believed their exceptional circumstances demanded exceptional measures. The criminals had found a sanctuary in end-to-end encryption that had rendered traditional law enforcement tools obsolete. Therefore, the argument went, a deceptive, extra-policy solution was necessary to pierce the veil of digital secrecy and restore the balance of power. This reasoning, however persuasive in a high-pressure briefing room, opens the door to deeply problematic ethical trade-offs, particularly regarding the rule of law and the separation of powers. To maintain the operational cover, the FBI and AFP had to actively manage the ANOM network to ensure the criminals sustained confidence. The agency was not merely observing, it was guaranteeing the quality of service for the criminal market. The infrastructure had to be robust, the application fast, and the encryption seemingly flawless. The FBI tech company had to be functionally superior to its competitors, thereby increasing the criminal reliance on the very tool that was betraying them. This active facilitation of crime created a strange moral liability, leading to the unsettling question: for the duration of the surveillance, was the FBI not legally responsible for the crimes that were made possible by the secure communication system they secretly maintained and funded? Consider the immense operational commitment required to maintain the compartmentalization of the secret. Afgu had to continuously lie to his developers, assuring them the Ghost Contact was an administrator audit function for enterprise clients. The distributors had to be kept absolutely confident that they were selling the next generation of uncrackable privacy. This reliance on a web of persistent, interwoven secrets created an operational fragility. One single slip, one honest word spoken by a newly arrested criminal, one moment of technical negligence, and the entire edifice would collapse, proving the immense vulnerability of a deception built upon so many layers of untruth. The history of law enforcement is replete with cautionary tales demonstrating the unpredictable and catastrophic fallout when agencies operate outside of established oversight, motivated by the conviction that the ends will ultimately justify the questionable means. The ghost of Operation Fast and Furious, run years earlier by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, or ATF, served as a constant, sobering reminder of this risk. In that operation, the ATF allowed the sale of approximately 2,000 firearms to known straw purchasers for Mexican drug cartels. The goal was to trace the weapons to high-ranking cartel leaders, securing major indictments. Yet, the agency quickly lost track of the weapons, and instead of leading to a mass dismantling of the cartel leadership, the operation simply resulted in the large-scale arming of criminals. The failure reached a tragic climax when one of the unrecovered weapons from the ATF operation was found at the murder scene of a United States Border Patrol agent. The noble ends, in that instance, led only to disaster, proving that a failure to adhere to policy and procedure can have profoundly lethal, unintended consequences. The agents involved in the ANOM operation were fully aware of the ethical minefield they traversed, particularly regarding the use of parallel construction. This tactic required the agency to generate official evidence from a false, premise, a practice that sits deeply uncomfortably with the principles of due process. While they could successfully justify their arrests in court by fabricating a cover story, the action created a silent internal breach of trust. It signaled an institutional willingness to circumvent judicial checks and balances when it was deemed strategically advantageous, substituting technical secrecy for judicial transparency. The psychological burden on the agents was complex. They were saving lives, preempting murders, seizing narcotics shipments worth millions of dollars. And yet, every victory was tainted by the quiet knowledge that they had to lie to achieve it. This constant ethical tightrope walk required a compartmentalization of the self, forcing agents to operate under a dual reality: the honest world of police procedure and the shadowy, secretive world of the ANOM backdoor. The ANOM network itself was a testament to the sophistication of this digital age of crime. The criminals, having invested in what they believed was the peak of secure communication, felt invincible. They used their devices with reckless abandon, openly discussing every facet of their illegal operations, from logistics to rival threats. The very technical excellence of the platform, the quality guaranteed by the FBI's secret funding, only increased the audacity of their communications. This criminal confidence was the direct result of the government's operational compromise, a calculated risk that produced both astonishing intelligence and an uncomfortable, persistent ethical debt. The compartmentalization was the lifeblood of the operation. The silence between the coders and the distributors, the lack of communication between the American and Australian teams reading the messages, and the constant vigilance of AFGU in maintaining the illusion, all served to preserve the digital safe space for the criminals. This extraordinary operational discipline bought the authorities time, allowing the network to swell to a truly global scale. Yet, the deeper the operation dug in, the greater the inevitable shockwave would be upon its eventual inevitable revelation. The final act of Operation Trojan Shield was not just the arrests of criminals, but the public exposure of the profound ethical and legal compromises made by the state itself, a quiet cost that would endure long after the last arrest was made. The time for these subtle compromises was drawing to a close. The ANOM network was expanding far beyond the control of the initial American and Australian partners, its influence spreading like a silent current across continental boundaries. The immense, continuous intelligence being generated was about to attract the attention of new, major global partners, multiplying the operational complexity and escalating the moral stakes with every passing hour. The shadow operation was now too big to remain solely in the hands of its founders. The developers' blindness, the vast and precarious deception depended utterly on the continued fidelity of small, isolated groups of people who held only a partial, comforting truth, allowing them to diligently build the very trap that would ultimately ensnare the world's criminals. To understand the depth of the ANOM camouflage, one must look at the quiet figures in the software industry, the developers who sincerely believed they were creating a tool for corporate compliance, completely blind to the intelligence operation their code enabled. The secrecy of the operation was maintained by a perfect, compartmentalized lie delivered by the platform's architect, AFGU. The narrative presented to the developers was a masterstroke of plausible deniability, rooted in the genuine, if niche, demands of highly regulated industries. The coders, often hired as freelancers through secure online portals, believed they were contributing to an enterprise communication platform, a service marketed to large businesses, banks, and financial institutions. They were told their work was critical for corporations required to maintain meticulous records of all internal communications for legal and auditing purposes. This need for internal record keeping is not a fabrication. It is an established reality in industries facing intense regulatory scrutiny. For example, in the banking sector, compliance rules often dictate that all electronic communications, emails, chat messages, and trading floor discussions must be archived and accessible to administrators for potential legal discovery or internal investigation. Even secure platforms designed for government use, such as the enterprise version of Wickr, utilized by the Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, possess an archival function. This allows the agency to maintain encrypted communications while still fulfilling the legal requirement to store and access data, ensuring that sensitive information can be retrieved later to answer indictments or subpoenas. The encryption is present, but the capacity for administrative oversight is built directly into the software's architecture. This legitimate need became the perfect cover story for the ANOM development team. The feature that silently betrayed the criminals, the ghost contact that received a blind carbon copy of every message, was presented to the coders as the platform's essential administrator audit function. The developers were simply asked to build a highly secure, end-to-end encrypted chat service that simultaneously routed a duplicate, decrypted copy of every message to a centralized, authorized management server. They believed this function was for the chief executive officer or the compliance officer of a large corporation, allowing them to audit employee communications at a later date. They were coding for compliance, not for clandestine surveillance. One developer, known in the investigation by the pseudonym Athit, recounted the routine nature of the task. He was simply given specifications to build an Android application with strong encryption. The development process was standard, involving the kind of detailed work he had performed countless times before. He was not privy to the distribution of the phone, the identity of the end users, or the true identity of the entity funding the operation. This deliberate omission of context, the fact that the users were global drug traffickers and the true client was the Federal Bureau of Investigation, was the precise point of AFGU's compartmentalization. The coders operated in a silo of honest labor, their ethical conscience clear, because they believed they were serving corporate, not criminal, security needs. The integrity of this lie was absolutely vital to the operation's integrity. Had the developers suspected their work was being used to facilitate a massive, state-sponsored entrapment scheme targeting criminals, the secret would have been virtually impossible to contain. The fact that the technical teams were completely segregated from the criminal distribution network, the sellers who were actively promoting the phone to biker gangs and syndicates, created a functional firewall against leaks. The developers were never able to connect their code to street-level marketing. The sheer technological sophistication required to maintain this deception was remarkable. The ANOM phone's operating system, a fork of the privacy-focused Graphene OS, had to be meticulously engineered to allow the ghost contact to operate invisibly, without any digital footprint visible to the user or to external security researchers. The obfuscation layers, the calculator app secret key, the removal of global positioning system capabilities, the dummy apps, were all features that the developers themselves proudly coded, believing they were creating the ultimate tool for corporate discretion and employee safety. The very features that drew criminals to the phone were, ironically, built by honest workers under a flag of corporate security. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, acting as the silent backer, relied on this architecture of compartmentalized belief. Their funding supported the entire ecosystem of this lie, ensuring that the developers were paid promptly, the servers ran flawlessly, and the criminal users remained perpetually satisfied with the product's quality. They were paying for the seamless execution of AFGU's initial deception, leveraging a conventional business premise to create a massive, unconventional surveillance system. This systemic reliance on deception, while operationally effective, further complicated the ethical position of the government agencies. Not only were they actively lying to the courts through parallel construction, but they were also, through their funding and direction, deceiving and misdirecting the labor of honest developers. The means of justice were purchased through a continuous, systematic campaign of institutionalized untruth. The entire operation stood as a testament to the power of a single, compartmentalized secret. The knowledge that the message archiving function was not for a chief executive officer, but for the FBI, resided with only a tiny, trusted group. The integrity of that small circle and the enduring belief of the many unwitting participants was the fragile pillar supporting the entire weight of Operation Trojan Shield. Had any single element of the operational chain, from the code developer to the device distributor, ever suspected the truth, the entire network would have been instantly corrupted, and the massive intelligence flow would have been terminated in a single, devastating moment. And so, the network continued to thrive, propelled by the criminal need for absolute secrecy and fueled by the honest, diligent work of developers who had no idea the platform they were building was the ultimate betrayal. The product, funded by the American government and used by the world's most wanted, was a technological paradox, a digital Trojan horse where the inner workings were hidden not just by encryption, but by a masterful deception of purpose. With the platform stable and the criminal confidence absolute, the Anom phone began to spread with quiet, organic inevitability. What started as an Australian experiment quickly transcended continental barriers, propelled by the very effectiveness the FBI had paid to maintain. The messages flowing into the central server soon began to arrive in languages other than English, signaling the network's expansion into new territories and attracting the attention of new, major international partners. The scale of the deception was about to multiply, pulling in new law enforcement agencies and raising profound jurisdictional challenges that would test the very limits of international cooperation. The net, meticulously woven in secret, was now catching the whole world, wiretapping the world. The small, secret venture, once confined to the jurisdiction of the Australian Federal Police, had quietly achieved a scale that defied national boundaries, forcing the operation's American architects to confront the immense legal and ethical complexity of wiretapping the entire world. The flow of intelligence, initially a trickle of Australian biker gang chatter, had swelled into an unstoppable global current, with messages arriving in a multitude of languages, signaling the successful yet deeply problematic colonization of the criminal underground. As Anom phones were successfully distributed through high-level criminal channels across different continents, the network's center of gravity shifted. The real-time intelligence soon began to concern territories far removed from the initial operational centers of San Diego and Canberra. The devices began to appear in significant numbers across Europe, particularly in the Netherlands and Sweden, countries with highly active and powerful organized crime syndicates. This geographical shift necessitated a rapid and unprecedented expansion of the surveillance partnership, demanding the quiet cooperation of new international law enforcement agencies. The initial partners, the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Australian Federal Police, recognized that they could not act on intelligence outside of their own jurisdictions. The AFP possessed no authority to conduct arrests in Stockholm or Amsterdam, and the FBI, while funding and operating the network, could not unilaterally conduct police operations on foreign soil. To capitalize on the flood of non-English communications, they made a strategic decision to share the extraordinary stream of intelligence with their European counterparts, bringing the Swedish police and the Dutch National Police into the inner circle of the secret operation. This expansion of the partnership multiplied the complexity of the operation, but it did not change its fundamental nature. The new European partners were also tasked with maintaining the strict silence and operational integrity of the Anom backdoor, employing the deceptive tactic of parallel construction to justify their arrests. For the Swedish and Dutch authorities, the stream of real-time intelligence was equally intoxicating, offering a previously unimaginable window into the logistics of drug importation, the details of money laundering, and the precise planning of violent, gang-related retribution. They too had been stymied by encrypted phones for years, and the opportunity to quietly watch the criminal world operate was an irresistible prize. However, the rapid globalization of the Anom network introduced profound, quiet questions regarding the jurisdictional reach and ethical boundaries of American law enforcement. The FBI's fundamental mandate is to protect and defend the nation against internal threats and violations of federal law within the United States. Its traditional role does not include the continuous, systematic surveillance of foreign nationals operating entirely on foreign soil. That mission, historically, belongs to intelligence services like the Central Intelligence Agency. This operation, by its very design, blurred the lines between law enforcement and international intelligence gathering. The FBI's justification for engaging in this global surveillance rested upon a critical, quiet legal distinction regarding the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. The Fourth Amendment guarantees the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures, requiring that warrants be issued only upon probable cause. Critically, this protection is generally interpreted to apply only to American soil or to American citizens, not to the communications of foreign nationals overseas. This legal carve-out, often referred to as a loophole, provided the FBI with the essential clearance to collect, store, and analyze data that would have been constitutionally prohibited within the United States without a specific individualized warrant. In the eyes of the FBI prosecutors and agents involved, the operation was fundamentally justifiable. They viewed it as a necessary and good initiative, dedicated to the global disruption of organized crime. They were not driven by political motive, but by a genuine, deep-seated desire to neutralize criminal syndicates that transcended national borders. Yet, this noble conviction did not eliminate the underlying constitutional questions, particularly the uncomfortable implication of the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation asserting itself as a kind of world police, diverting vast resources to solve crimes in Stockholm and Sydney. The diversion of FBI resources was substantial, requiring funding for the technical infrastructure, logistics for hardware distribution, and eventually the full-time dedication of over 130 FBI agents to monitor and analyze the millions of messages flowing through the ANOM system. This commitment begged the question of priorities. Had the agency exhausted all domestic threats? The decision to prioritize this global offensive, this large-scale international intelligence operation, over the singular focus on threats within the 50 states, represented a significant, quiet shift in institutional strategy. This new strategic posture, going on the offense in the name of defense, is a profound step that warrants sober reflection. The FBI was no longer merely passively monitoring domestic communication. It was actively penetrating the private digital lives of thousands of individuals worldwide. This digital intrusion is akin to the mass spying conducted by intelligence agencies like the National Security Agency and Government Communications Headquarters, or GCHQ, revealed in the Snowden leaks, where vast amounts of generalized data were collected, inevitably sweeping up the private communications of non-criminals alongside the targets. While the ANOM network was heavily weighted toward criminal users, perhaps 90% criminal, the presence of any non-criminals raised immediate and troubling concerns. As the cryptographer Matthew Green quietly pointed out, the question becomes, at what ratio is mass surveillance of a network deemed acceptable? If the network reached 50-50 criminal and non-criminal users, or if half of the criminals were engaged in trivial offenses like minor copyright infringement, while the other half were involved in major trafficking, is the mass spying still ethically sound? The constant danger is that law enforcement, having proven the success of mass surveillance, will inevitably seek to lower the threshold for its use, justifying broader and broader intrusion. The philosophical concern lies in the danger of setting a lower standard of privacy for digital life than for physical life. In the physical world, the FBI cannot legally break into thousands of homes and rummage through private papers without individualized warrants based on probable cause. Such an act would be an unequivocally unethical violation of the Fourth Amendment. Yet, the ANOM operation was a covert reaching into the equivalent of tens of thousands of digital houses simultaneously, analyzing all messages indiscriminately. This was not a targeted search. It was the analysis of an entire data stream. This inherent conflict was not lost on the FBI leadership. The very tools they created, such as the Hola iBot interface, had to be deliberately programmed to filter and shield communications originating from United States soil. The data on American users was physically available in the ANOM servers, but the FBI had to maintain a strict technical wall, literally looking the other way to avoid a clear and present constitutional violation. This act of self-censorship, while an attempt to adhere to the law, highlighted the immense pressure and legal tightrope walk required to operate such a comprehensive mass surveillance tool while remaining technically compliant with domestic legal standards. The establishment of this global surveillance pipeline, where the FBI effectively acted as a central intelligence hub, collecting and then passing information to foreign partners, was a transformative moment in policing. It was the quiet, undeniable realization of the intent to wiretap the world, a technological feat achieved not through breaking sophisticated encryption, but through the simple, elegant architectural flaw of the ghost contact. This success, however, carried with it an unprecedented ethical and legal burden that society was never given the chance to debate. As the ANOM network continued its quiet spread, the focus now shifted to the operational heart of the deception, the interface used by the FBI agents themselves. This was the console where the raw, chaotic stream of global criminal communication was transformed into actionable, life-saving, and deeply compromising intelligence, forcing the human and artificial minds to race against the potential for tragedy. The Hola-iBot interface. The heart of the entire deception resided within a highly secure, nondescript physical space, where the torrent of global criminal secrets was channeled into a single specialized software interface, transforming raw data into actionable intelligence. This was the quiet, operational control center, the screen upon which the most wanted members of the underworld unknowingly displayed their most sensitive plans for the scrutiny of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The interface used by the agents was a custom-built surveillance system developed in-house by Federal Bureau of Investigation computer scientists. It was given the unassuming technical codename Hola-iBot. This software was the digital translation of the ANOM architectural flaw, the necessary tool to process the millions of blind carbon copies, the secret messages flowing from the ghost contact. Initially, the system was accessible only from the secure environment of the San Diego FBI field office. But as the European partnerships grew and the complexities of the global pandemic mounted, the system was adapted for remote access, allowing international partners to log in and analyze the data from their respective secure locations. The visual experience of the Hola-iBot system was designed for maximum clarity and rapid analytical processing. Agents were presented with a screen dominated by a dark, green and black aesthetic, reminiscent of classic technical interfaces. The system's true power lay in its ability to quickly map and visualize the intricate, hidden structures of organized crime. Upon selecting an individual ANOM user, the interface would instantly render a constellation of contacts, a detailed graphical view that displayed the user at the center, surrounded by circles representing every individual and group chat they communicated with. It was a digital map of the entire criminal hierarchy, allowing analysts to zoom in instantly on relationships and dependencies within global syndicates. This visual mapping function solved one of the most persistent and complicated problems of traditional wiretapping: identifying the true players. In conventional surveillance, an agent might only capture audio of two anonymous voices using codenames. With ANOM and Hola-iBot, the FBI could immediately see the social graph, understanding who was connected to whom, allowing them to rapidly map the leadership, distributors, and enforcers of entire criminal organizations operating across 150 different countries. But the sheer volume of data collected by the ghost contact soon overwhelmed the capacity of human analysts. The Anon network was generating not just thousands, but literally tens of millions of messages, a flood of raw text, photos, and voice memos. The agents realized that without advanced assistance, they faced the very real danger of being paralyzed by the data, of drowning in a sea of criminal chatter. Had they relied on manual reading alone, the time delay would have rendered the intelligence useless, and, more tragically, it would have created the fatal risk of missing an imminent threat to life. To manage this overwhelming scale, the Federal Bureau of Investigation partnered with external, specialized technological providers, leveraging artificial intelligence capabilities, at least in some measure, through Amazon's extensive technical resources, to introduce an advanced analytical layer into the Hola iBot system. This was the birth of the AI-powered summary function. This tool represented a significant leap forward in surveillance capabilities. The AI was tasked with continuously scouring the entire data stream, trained to instantly identify, categorize, and summarize the key subject matter of vast numbers of conversations. The results were displayed on the right side of the screen, providing analysts with instant, unvarnished summaries of the criminal intent. The message might be dense with slang or coded language, but the AI could cut through the deception, flagging the content with blunt, clear precision. Jerry is talking about a cocaine deal, or discussion related to high-caliber weapons transport. The AI's ability to decode the criminal lingo was crucial. Criminals, operating with the belief that their human adversaries could not keep up with their specialized jargon, constantly used code words and pseudonyms to discuss drug quantities, chemical precursors, and planned acts of violence. The machine learning models, by processing millions of these messages, could discern the patterns and translate the intent, neutralizing the criminal's attempts at linguistic camouflage. This sophisticated analytical power allowed the 130 FBI agents assigned to the case to remain focused on the most urgent intelligence, preventing the vast, swirling data lake from becoming a black hole of missed opportunities. The constant and profound psychological pressure on the analysts was the risk of the catastrophic failure, the potential for a threat to life message to slip through the system and result in a preventable death. This danger was a persistent, quiet mandate for the agents. They understood that every minute of delay, every overlooked image of a location or a weapon, carried the weight of a potential tragedy. The analytical process was a constant race against time, a desperate effort to piece together disparate fragments of intelligence, a partial photo of a car, a blurred image of a building, a vague timestamp, and translate that information into a precise location and an immediate warning for their foreign partners. One of the FBI agents involved in the initial monitoring was tasked solely with reviewing every single image sent across the platform. The flood of visual data, photos of weapons, caches of drugs, images of targeted individuals, and coordinates for future meetings, required immense concentration to interpret and contextualize. It was the human eye, guided by the machine, that ultimately had to decide, is this a credible threat or merely criminal bravado? The ultimate difficulty lay in the human element of criminal communication. In a typical message, a criminal might impulsively declare, "I'm going to kill you." a phrase often used as a simple expression of anger or lingo that is not meant to be taken literally. The AI could flag the keywords, but the human analyst had to apply the context, differentiating between hollow threats and actual granular planning. The conversations detailing a getaway car rental, the purchase of an assassin's safe house, or the specific rendezvous point for a final action. When the communications moved from simple posturing to concrete logistics, the alarm was sounded, activating the urgent diplomatic relay to foreign law enforcement. The Hola iBot interface was the nerve center of a quiet, massive, and continuous act of prevention. It was the crucible where the sheer scale of global criminal conspiracy was rendered visible and intelligible, transforming the abstract concept of organized crime into quantifiable data points and identifiable targets. This digital window into the underworld, paid for and maintained by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, ensured that the criminals remained in their self-created trap, confident in their secrecy while being perfectly monitored. But the continuous interception of threat-to-life messages created its own perverse consequence, leading to a dangerous cycle of violence and suspicion. The FBI's successful interventions, while saving the life of an intended victim, inadvertently alerted the criminals that they had a mole within their own ranks. The successful prevention of a murder would be immediately followed by a new, frantic round of anom messages as the syndicate desperately tried to identify the rat who had betrayed them, creating a fresh and imminent threat to life for the suspected informant. The agents were, in effect, constantly trading one life for the threat of another, caught in an endless, draining moral spiral. The net of surveillance was now so tightly woven that every action had an immediate and unpredictable reaction within the criminal world. This immense, continuous pressure, the reliance on an AI, the constant battle against the clock, and the ethical weight of the surveillance cycle was rapidly pushing the anom operation toward its unavoidable breaking point. The strategic decision of when and how to finally pull the plug on this unprecedented deception was becoming the most urgent question facing the international coalition. The offensive defense. In the ceaseless, quiet war for digital information, a profound and necessary line exists between passive monitoring and active intrusion, and it is the moment law enforcement crosses this boundary that defines the complex, controversial nature of modern surveillance. The operation of anom was not merely a reaction to criminal activity, but a deliberate global offensive waged in the name of defense, fundamentally challenging the established rules of engagement. The traditional mandate of law enforcement, and specifically the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States, is to protect and defend the nation against threats. This role implies a response to existing or developing dangers, operating within legal limits to secure justice. Yet, the anom operation was a strategic, international offense, a premeditated intrusion into the private communication systems of thousands of individuals worldwide. This distinction, moving from reactive defense to proactive offense, is the hinge upon which the entire ethical dilemma turns. Consider the physical world. A legal battle is underway, and to better defend his client, a lawyer decides to secretly break into the opposing counsel's office to steal their case notes, or hack into their phone to read their private chat messages. Such an act of intrusion, committed in the name of a better defense, would be unequivocally unethical, a profound violation of legal and professional standards. It is an intrusion, not an investigation. Yet in the digital realm, the FBI's tactic was precisely this: a deep, covert penetration of private chats, a systematic violation of the expectation of privacy in pursuit of criminal activity. The argument for this digital trespass is rooted in the perceived mass surveillance of intelligence. Because the ANOM network was marketed for criminals by criminals, it was argued that the entire data stream was inherently criminal, justifying the wholesale collection of all messages. This rationale attempted to redefine the nature of the search, transforming it from a general, unwarranted intrusion into a necessary, targeted interception of an exclusively criminal platform. This distinction, however, failed to account for the inherent dangers of mass spying and its effect on civil liberties. The history of large-scale intelligence collection, notably the programs exposed during the Snowden revelations, demonstrated that the sheer volume of data collected inevitably sweeps up the communications of non-criminals alongside the targets. Even with a highly curated system like ANOM, the potential for non-criminal users, individuals who may have bought the phone for legitimate privacy concerns or been pulled into a criminal contact list, remained a quiet, troubling certainty. The question for society, which was never given a voice in this secret operation, is one of constitutional principles. Should our digital lives be subject to a lower standard of privacy than our physical lives? The Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution is clear in its protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, requiring that searches be targeted and based upon probable cause. If the FBI were to cross that boundary in the physical world, it would be akin to secretly breaking into thousands of homes and rummaging through personal belongings without a warrant, merely on the suspicion that some criminal activity might be detected. Such a gross, untargeted intrusion would be immediately and legally unacceptable. Yet, the ANOM operation was precisely a covert reaching into the digital equivalent of tens of thousands of secure personal spaces. The argument that the FBI could not spy on people in the United States without warrants, a strict legal reality that forced them to program Hola iBot to filter domestic communications, underscored the constitutional gravity of the situation. The FBI was, in effect, circumventing its domestic constitutional restraints by operating the platform globally and exchanging intelligence with foreign partners, a legal strategy that was operationally effective but ethically strained. The ultimate ethical dilemma within the intelligence community itself centered on the ratio of criminal to non-criminal users. The respected cryptographer Matthew Green framed the quiet, difficult question: if a communications network is composed of 90% criminals, is it a fair target for wholesale surveillance? What happens when the ratio shifts to 50-50? And how do law enforcement agencies ethically prioritize? If 50% of the criminal users are engaged in acts of severe violence or trafficking, while the other 50% are merely committing minor technical offenses like copyright infringement, is the mass spying justified for the entire network? The fear is that the success of the ANOM operation establishes a dangerous precedent, one that will be used to justify the continuous expansion of mass digital surveillance into realms that are less and less criminal. The fundamental concern for civil liberties rests on the chilling effect that constant surveillance has on dissent and free thought. When individuals know they are being watched, their actions and communications change. They become less likely to express dissenting views, to engage in peaceful protest, or to challenge government leadership. This self-censorship quietly erodes the very foundations of a free society. The preservation of the freedom to have opposing views without being watched is a paramount concern, and the spectacle of the ANOM operation, where even the FBI itself had to employ technical measures to avoid violating the law against its own citizens, only highlighted the critical importance of that privacy firewall. This necessary act of institutional self-protection forced the FBI to maintain a strict wall between the domestic and international intelligence streams. Although the ANOM phones absolutely landed on American soil and were being used by criminals within the United States, the higher-ups at the Department of Justice deliberately shut down any official plan to read those domestic messages without specific warrants. The vast intelligence, though technically present in the servers, was rendered untouchable by the Fourth Amendment. This decision, while frustrating to the agents who wanted to make immediate arrests in Los Angeles or New Jersey, was a quiet, crucial affirmation of the sanctity of domestic constitutional rights, a line they were unwilling to cross institutionally. The continuous global surveillance also created an unprecedented ethical hazard in the form of the threat to life spiral. The FBI and its partners, committed to preventing murder and violence, found themselves in the unique moral position of saving the lives of criminals who were themselves plotting the murder of other criminals. Furthermore, every successful intervention inadvertently exposed the presence of a rat, compelling the criminal organizations to immediately target a suspected informant. The agents were caught in a perpetual, agonizing cycle, where an act of protection instantly generated a new, imminent threat that required a fresh and immediate response. The complexity of the ANOM operation proved that the digital boundary between defense and offense is not only fluid, but increasingly blurry. The state had become a secret partner to a criminal enterprise, a quiet purveyor of technological deceit, all in pursuit of a greater justice. The strategic goal of mass takedown transcended the immediate ethical costs, forcing the global law enforcement coalition into a high-stakes, ethically complex venture that had no clear precedent in history. The massive, global intelligence collection, however, could not continue indefinitely. The operational complexities, the escalating number of users, and the sheer administrative weight of managing a world-spanning deception were rapidly pushing the entire enterprise toward an inevitable climax. A clear, decisive timeline for the final, global takedown was urgently needed before the secret became too vast and too unwieldy to contain. The threat to life cycle. The quiet mandate of the ANOM operation was ultimately one of prevention, compelling agents to continuously race against time and the criminal mind, translating raw digital whispers into immediate, life-saving intervention. This commitment to preemptive justice, however noble, created a profound and agonizing moral spiral, forcing law enforcement into a perpetual, dangerous cycle of ethical trade-offs. The HOLA iBot interface, the custom-built surveillance portal, was the operational nerve center where the abstract threat became a concrete, ticking clock. Analysts, often numbering over 130 within the Federal Bureau of Investigation and its international partners were constantly searching for the ultimate red flag, the threat to life. This designation moved a criminal chat from the realm of intelligence gathering into the highest priority category for immediate intervention, demanding rapid and seamless cooperation across multiple sovereign nations. The intelligence presented to the analysts was frequently incomplete, a challenge deliberately complicated by the criminals' use of slang, code names, and partial evidence. An analyst might encounter a blurry photograph of a handgun, a vague timestamp, and a message referencing -1 on the target. The task was a frantic, meticulous puzzle to translate the raw fragments, the partial image of a location, the mention of a specific vehicle type, the subtle, coded instruction to off arrival, into a set of coordinates and an identity that a local police force could act upon. This was the analytical race, the continuous human effort to transform chaotic criminal chatter into a precise, verifiable narrative. The ultimate challenge in this perpetual surveillance was distinguishing between genuine criminal planning and the common, impulsive posturing of the underworld. In the flow of angry messages between rival gangs or within a single syndicate, a phrase like, "I am going to kill you," is often mere lingo, a fleeting expression of rage that does not translate into imminent physical action. The artificial intelligence within Hola iBot could flag these keywords instantly, but it was the human analyst, guided by context and the sheer volume of data, who had to determine the true gravity of the communication. The credible threats were those that included granular planning, the precise logistical details of renting an Airbnb to hide an assassin, the coordination of a specific getaway car, or the detailed surveillance of a target's family. When the chat moved from anger to logistics, the alarm was sounded. A crucial and complicating element in this surveillance was the fact that the vast majority of the violence being plotted was criminal on criminal, gang on gang activity, often involving internal retribution or disputes over drug territory. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and its partners found themselves in the strange moral territory of actively intervening to save the lives of criminals, a situation that forced a continuous, uncomfortable ethical calculation. While a life is a life, regardless of the individual's illicit associations, the resources dedicated to protecting one criminal often came at the cost of protecting the operational integrity needed to dismantle the entire syndicate. The deepest ethical weight, however, arose from the self-perpetuating nature of the violence, the threat to life spiral that intensified with every successful intervention. When an agent reading a message in Hola iBot successfully alerted the local authorities to a planned hit, saving the intended victim's life, the immediate, predictable consequence was that the criminal plotters would realize their plan had been betrayed. They would not suspect the Anom phone's architecture. Rather, they would immediately conclude that a mole or a rat existed within their inner circle. This realization instantly shifted the threat. The original target was safe, but the criminal syndicate would frantically begin communicating on Anom, plotting the violent discovery and elimination of the perceived informant. A successful intervention, therefore, instantaneously created a new, imminent threat to life, often involving severe torture or murder, requiring an immediate, desperate new round of intervention. The agents were caught in an agonizing moral treadmill, constantly trading one potential victim for another, unable to stop the cycle without entirely dismantling the platform that allowed them to see it. This agonizing moral burden was compounded by the strict legal firewall imposed by the Fourth Amendment concerning US citizens and communications on American soil. Although ANOM phones had successfully entered the United States and were being used by criminals in cities such as Los Angeles, the Federal Bureau of Investigation could not read those messages without a specific, individualized warrant. The data was there, physically present on the same servers as the European and Australian messages, yet it was rendered untouchable by the sanctity of the US Constitution. This legal restriction created an institutional double standard that was both frustrating for the agents and critically important for preserving constitutional order. While the FBI was prevented from reading the domestic messages, the Australian Federal Police was asked to keep an eye on US-based ANOM chats for imminent threats to life, creating a bizarre diplomatic arrangement to circumvent the constitutional restriction in the name of safety. This required the AFP to monitor data related to a foreign sovereign's citizens, a profound example of the legal contortions required to maintain a global surveillance operation while remaining technically compliant with domestic law. The continuous pressure of this operational tightrope, the moral obligation to intervene, the institutional need to lie via parallel construction, and the constant fear of a life-threatening message slipping through the massive data stream began to wear on the operation. The sheer scale of the network was growing too unwieldy for the 130 analysts to manage effectively. The demands for increased resources to monitor the ever-swelling volume of messages became unsustainable. The relentless ethical burden of facilitating crime while fighting it, and the moral drain of constantly trading one live threat for another, led to a critical consensus. The operation had reached the point of maximum intelligence gain. Any further continuation risked an accidental exposure that would prematurely destroy the entire network, or worse, a massive security failure that would result in a high-profile, preventable murder. The time had come for the tactical sacrifice of the ANOM backdoor, for the strategic victory of a global mass takedown. The endpoint was fast approaching, determined not by a new technical threat, but by the relentless logistics and the legal clock. The court order in Lithuania, a nation critical to the technical infrastructure of ANOM, was set to expire, providing a firm, non-negotiable deadline. This external legal pressure forced the international coalition to finalize their plans. The moment for quiet surveillance was over. The time for the coordinated, world-spanning climax, Operation Trojan Shield, had arrived. The criminals, absolutely confident in their digital solitude, were about to witness the spectacular collapse of their entire world. The unwieldy scale, the delicate balance of the secret operation, sustained by years of technical discipline and calculated deception, was ultimately undone not by a rival hacker or a security flaw, but by the relentless, geometric growth of its own success. The ANOM network had swelled to an unmanageable scale, transforming the Federal Bureau of Investigation's carefully controlled tech startup into a giant, unwieldy intelligence machine rapidly approaching self-collapse. The network's expansion was far beyond the initial, contained experiment planned by the American and Australian partners. The ANOM phone, propelled by the criminal need for absolute secrecy and the high-quality assurance implicitly funded by the FBI, had rapidly become the preferred secure communication method for over 300 criminal syndicates operating in over 100 different countries. Success has become a fundamental constraint. The continuous, overwhelming flow of data imposed an unsustainable logistical burden on the international law enforcement coalition. What began with a small team of Australian analysts soon required the full-time dedication of over 130 Federal Bureau of Investigation agents, alongside their European partners, all working around the clock to translate and interpret the torrent of communications flowing through the Hola iBot interface. Every request for more resources, more analysts, and more technical processing power was met with the chilling realization that the network was still growing, demanding yet more attention. The growth curve was outstripping the capacity of the state to manage it, threatening to turn the intelligence advantage into an administrative liability. This escalating scale coincided with a profound and escalating ethical dilemma within the upper echelons of the United States Department of Justice. The field agents, the cowboys of the operation, were eager to complete the mission, pushing for a definitive end that would justify the immense personal and institutional risks they had taken. They were ready to move on the vast intelligence they held, particularly the data related to the thousands of crimes that had occurred. However, the more senior officials within the Department of Justice, particularly those in critical legal oversight divisions like the Office of Enforcement Operations, viewed the operation with extreme caution and growing concern. The Office of Enforcement Operations is typically responsible for approving all federal wiretaps and surveillance warrants, acting as a crucial legal check on investigative overreach. The ANOM operation, by its very nature, sidestepped this standard process, creating a mass surveillance system without the typical individualized judicial review. This constitutional sensitivity became paramount when considering the ANOM phones that had landed on American soil. Despite the agents' deep desire to make arrests in cities like Los Angeles and New Jersey, the senior officials consciously sat on the requests for warrants, refusing to approve the reading of domestic messages. This deep division revealed a fundamental clash in institutional philosophy. The field agents operated on the conviction that the magnitude of the criminal activity justified the means, believing the goal of taking down massive syndicates was worth the procedural risk. The senior legal counsel, however, adhered to the absolute necessity of preserving the Fourth Amendment and the principle that even a massive criminal operation does not waive the constitutional right to due process. The reluctance of the senior leadership effectively shut down any official FBI operation against domestic ANOM users, proving that the legal firewall against unwarranted mass surveillance within the United States remained firmly intact, even under extreme pressure. Furthermore, the legal and ethical responsibility for the facilitation of crime was becoming a growing concern that required closure. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was, without any doubt, the tech backbone of organized crime for a prolonged period. By funding the ANOM platform, providing its technical stability, and ensuring its quality, the Bureau was actively enabling the criminal communications that led to drug deals, assaults, and money laundering. The agents believed this was the necessary cost of a long-term entrapment strategy, but the legal and moral implications were enormous. The longer the operation continued, the greater the legal debt and ethical liability mounted. This fundamental conflict, the need to preserve constitutional integrity versus the operational desire for a total victory, was a major contributing factor in forcing a deadline. The operation could not be allowed to drift indefinitely in this legally ambiguous state. It required a hard, decisive stop that would transition the massive intelligence from a surveillance tool into a transparent judicial asset. The final, compelling pressure, however, was a purely logistical one, dictated by an expiring judicial order in a foreign jurisdiction. The court order in Lithuania, a country that housed a crucial piece of the ANOM server infrastructure, was set to expire on June 7, 2021. This date became the non-negotiable endpoint, the hard barrier beyond which the entire system could not operate legally. The impending deadline transformed the complex ethical debate into an urgent operational timeline. The decision was made. The operation would conclude on June 7, 2021, before the integrity of the server infrastructure could be legally compromised. The international law enforcement coalition now faced the daunting task of transforming years of meticulously collected, highly secretive intelligence into a coordinated global arrest campaign that had to occur in a compressed, chaotic window of time. The pressure on the agents responsible for this global coordination was described as incredible. A single, massive, synchronous action across continents was necessary to prevent the criminals in one territory from alerting their counterparts in another. The strategy developed was a global line of dominoes, a sequential relay race takedown designed to maximize arrests while minimizing the opportunity for warning. The operation was set to begin with the earliest time zones, starting in Australia, where the Australian Federal Police would execute their planned arrests. The action would then sweep west, moving across Asia, then into Europe to be executed by the Swedish and Dutch partners. And finally, after the west coast of the United States had woken up, the Federal Bureau of Investigation would step forward to publicly take credit for the entire operation. The sheer ambition of this final, coordinated act was unprecedented. The plan required the synchronization of intelligence, legal processes, and police forces across dozens of countries, culminating in what was destined to be the single largest, single-day global law enforcement action in history. The quiet, hidden operation was about to erupt into a global, spectacular public climax, revealing the astonishing technological deception that had silently permeated the criminal underworld for years. The stage was set for Operation Trojan Shield. With the date fixed and the international teams briefed, the long period of silent watching was over. The 10,000 police officers mobilized across the world stood ready to turn the digital blueprints of the ANOM messages into a massive, irreversible wave of arrests. The quiet deception was about to yield a thunderous final result. Operation Trojan Shield. The years of quiet surveillance, built upon a foundation of architectural deceit and ethical compromise, culminated in a single, precisely coordinated global moment, transforming a stream of digital whispers into an irreversible wave of physical justice. This final, decisive action, known by the codename Operation Trojan Shield, was a spectacular demonstration of unprecedented international cooperation, marking the definitive end of the ANOM deception. The date was fixed, June 7th, 2021. This deadline, imposed by the legal expiration of a crucial court order in Lithuania, provided a non-negotiable moment for the final strike. The pressure on the International Command Center, a coordinated hub comprising the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Australian Federal Police, and their European partners, was immense. The entire operation's success hinged on synchronicity. The arrests had to occur so rapidly and comprehensively that no single criminal organization could alert another before the full magnitude of the betrayal was revealed. The strategy was orchestrated as a global line of dominoes, designed to fall sequentially across the world's time zones, maximizing the element of surprise. The operation commenced in the earliest hours, targeting the criminal infrastructure and personnel in Australia. The Australian Federal Police, armed with years of irrefutable, real-time ANOM intelligence, detailing every aspect of the country's organized crime, moved first. Their actions were decisive, based on meticulous digital blueprints that had been silently gathered and verified over many months. As the sun rose across Asia and into Europe, the operation swept westward. The Dutch National Police and the Swedish police executed their parallel arrests, targeting key distributors, gang leaders, and financiers whose identities and plots had been unmasked by the ghost contact. This wave of coordinated takedowns, stretching across continents, required the precise mobilization of an enormous law enforcement footprint, ultimately involving approximately 10,000 police officers in a world-spanning relay race of justice. The climax of the operation arrived when the news finally broke across the United States. While the FBI had primarily focused on international intelligence gathering, carefully adhering to the Fourth Amendment firewall against reading domestic chats, they now stepped forward to claim ownership of the entire, highly controversial program. The announcement confirmed the greatest fears of the criminal underworld and revealed the breathtaking scope of the operation to the public. During the press conference, the authorities laid bare the magnitude of the technological deception. They revealed that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had not merely conducted a wiretap, but had developed and operated its own hardened encrypted device company, ANOM. The devices, openly marketed with the reckless slogan, "Designed by criminals for criminals," were, in reality, a Trojan horse, secretly controlled and funded by the American government. The statistics revealed the astonishing scale of the intelligence coup. The operation had sold more than 12,000 ANOM encrypted devices and services, penetrating over 300 criminal syndicates that operated in over 100 different countries. The massive, continuous data stream yielded an unprecedented bounty of evidence, leading to a coordinated wave of arrests for drug trafficking, money laundering, firearms violations, and crimes of violence globally. The intelligence collected translated directly into real-world seizures, including tons of cocaine and methamphetamine, hundreds of firearms, and millions of dollars in illicit cash and assets. The revelation was intended to send a quiet, profound message throughout the digital underground that the long period of invincibility provided by encrypted communications was over. The confidence that criminals placed in the anonymity of technology had been shattered, replaced by a new, gnawing suspicion. The authorities argued that the operation would introduce a perpetual state of mistrust into the criminal ecosystem, forcing every digital transaction to be viewed with the profound fear that the government might, in fact, be the hidden interlocutor. However, the final public unveiling of Operation Trojan Shield did not merely expose the secrets of the criminals, it also exposed the profound ethical and legal contortions undertaken by the state. The confirmation that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had successfully operated a tech company for the sole purpose of facilitating crime, and the implicit admission that intelligence was acted upon using the highly deceptive practice of parallel construction, raised immediate and troubling questions about oversight and accountability. The success of the operation was undeniable, but the quiet cost of achieving it, the institutionalized deception and the setting of a precedent for mass digital intrusion, remained a complex, unresolved matter for judicial and civil authorities. For the criminals, the betrayal was complete and devastating. The very tool they purchased for ultimate security, the device that promised digital solitude behind layers of encryption and hidden interfaces, had proven to be the most efficient surveillance mechanism ever created. Their trust in the technology, once absolute, was now irrevocably compromised. This quiet, massive shockwave was intended to reverberate through every layer of the underworld, forcing a desperate re-evaluation of how and with whom criminals could ever securely communicate again. The astonishing success of Operation Trojan Shield marked the end of the Anon chapter, yet it simultaneously signaled the quiet beginning of a new, unsettling phase in the ongoing war between encryption and surveillance. The law enforcement agencies, having tasted the power of a successful, large-scale digital deception, were not satisfied with a single victory. The ultimate, quiet question remained. Having demonstrated the technical and ethical capacity to build and run a compromised secure platform, what would be the next version of this unprecedented operation? The global digital arms race had moved into a perpetual state of escalation, and the state was already looking for its next digital Trojan horse. The enduring question. The smoke had settled on the unprecedented global sweep, and the silence that followed the arrests was heavy with the weight of enduring, unanswered questions regarding the future of digital privacy and the boundaries of state power. Operation Trojan Shield had achieved its magnificent goal, but its true legacy rests not in the criminals it apprehended, but in the profound, unsettling precedent it established for all citizens. The spectacle of the massive takedown confirmed an astonishing technical capability that a small, dedicated group of agents within the Federal Bureau of Investigation could successfully conceive, fund, and operate a complex technological enterprise designed to entrap the world's organized crime. This achievement, utilizing the ghost contact architectural flaw within the Anon platform, proved that when motivated, the state possesses the ingenuity to pierce the veil of end-to-end encryption by compromising the software itself. The success was a resounding technical validation of the strategy. Yet, this success also exposed a critical new strategic posture: the explicit institutional willingness of the state to engage in active, mass digital intrusion as a method of law enforcement. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and its partners openly demonstrated that they were prepared to operate in a legally ambiguous shadow space, blurring the lines between domestic police work and international intelligence gathering. This approach built upon a foundation of institutional deception and the use of parallel construction to cloak the true source of evidence, introduced a profound legal ambiguity into the justice system. The most crucial enduring question for all of society is whether this operation ultimately shattered confidence only for criminals, or if it cast a shadow of mistrust over all legitimate, secure communications. For the average, privacy-conscious citizen who relies on end-to-end encryption for lawful communication, dissent, or the protection of personal data, the Anom story is deeply unsettling. It teaches that the source of a secure application is just as vital as the strength of its cryptography. The fear is now twofold: that the software may be deliberately compromised, or that the government is simply prepared to repeat the feat. The authorities, when asked directly whether they could replicate the Anom operation, were careful not to deny the possibility. Their response was one of deliberate, tactical ambiguity. They possessed the technical capability and the international partnerships to work similar cases in the future. This official response was not a declaration of final victory, but a quiet, calculated institutional tease intended to inject a permanent state of suspicion into the entire criminal underground. The message was clear: any new secure platform, regardless of its claims, might be the next digital Trojan horse. This explicit statement signals that the digital arms race has moved into a new, perpetual phase. Law enforcement agencies worldwide are actively exploring strategies to replicate the Anom success, searching for the next platform that can be quietly infiltrated or developed into a compromised surveillance tool. The field agents involved in Operation Trojan Shield quietly confirmed this direction, noting their eagerness to see what the next version of Operation Trojan Shield looks like. An unambiguous declaration that the state is actively pursuing an even larger, more comprehensive digital operation. The precedent has been established, and the institutional appetite for mass intelligence gathering has been whetted. The success of Operation Trojan Shield, coupled with the simultaneous takedowns of other compromised encrypted networks like Sky ECC and EncroChat, demonstrates a clear, unified global strategy among law enforcement agencies. This strategy prioritizes the systematic undermining of the entire encrypted communication ecosystem used by organized crime. The goal is no longer just to catch one criminal, but to dismantle the technological infrastructure of the entire global underworld. This unified approach requires enhanced international cooperation, a necessary but challenging collaboration that must ultimately address the uncomfortable reality that some nations still serve as safe havens for cybercriminals, refusing to cooperate with international extradition or investigation efforts. The operation's most difficult legacy remains its impact on the Fourth Amendment and the necessity of preserving constitutional checks on power. The internal struggle within the Department of Justice, where senior officials blocked the reading of domestic Anom chats despite the presence of criminal activity, served as a crucial, quiet defense of civil liberties. It confirmed that the Fourth Amendment is a necessary tool to maintain the delicate balance between national security interests and individual rights, ensuring that government actions are subject to oversight and based on legitimate need. The Anom story provides a powerful and immediate lesson for all users of digital technology, that the pursuit of security requires relentless, active skepticism. The key components of digital hygiene remain paramount. Source verification. Never accept a secure communication platform at face value, particularly those that offer extraordinary, exaggerated security features or are marketed outside of established, transparent channels. Decentralization. Rely on well-vetted, open-source software where the code can be publicly inspected and audited by the global security community. Hardware control. Be aware of the device itself, understanding that even the most secure software cannot overcome a deliberate hardware flaw or a background signal from components like the subscriber identity module. The final, quiet contemplation of this saga returns to the immense moral cost incurred in the name of global justice. The FBI and its partners successfully prevented murders, seized fortunes, and incarcerated thousands. But they did so by actively facilitating crime, systematically deceiving the judiciary, and violating the core principle of digital solitude. They assumed a massive, temporary ethical debt, justified by the scale of the criminal enterprises they defeated. The final question of this enduring digital struggle is not if another operation will follow, but where the next line will be drawn. The technology used in these conflicts, encryption, artificial intelligence, and global networks, is constantly evolving. The responsibility now lies with society to demand transparency and accountability, ensuring that the tools of mass intrusion, proven so devastatingly effective in Operation Trojan Shield, are never quietly turned against the legitimate and protected communications of the general public. The world is watching to see if the success of this monumental deception becomes a dangerous template for the future of digital surveillance. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and its international partners have shown their hand. The game has changed forever. The quiet challenge remains, demanding constant vigilance in a world where the search for ultimate digital solitude is now inherently intertwined with the risk of ultimate betrayal. The quiet fade, and so, the quiet journey through the hidden corners of the digital world comes to its conclusion, leaving us to contemplate the delicate, shifting balance between security and surveillance, between the need for solitude and the persistent eye of the state. Take a long, slow, deep breath now, allowing the weight of these complex stories to settle gently upon your mind, and feel the gradual relaxation beginning to move through your body, from your fingertips to your toes. The vast, intricate web of secrets we have just explored, the ghost contact, the Hola iBot interface, the unprecedented scale of Operation Trojan Shield, all point to a single, quiet truth. The world you inhabit, even when your eyes are closed, is far more deeply connected, more carefully architected than most ever realize. These hidden battles for data, for control, for information itself, take place in the cold, silent light of server farms, in lines of code, and in the careful, compartmentalized lies that maintain the illusion of an uncompromised system. Feel the profound irony of the ANOM device now. It was created to provide a shield of ultimate digital solitude, yet it became the most efficient tool for mass intrusion in modern history. The sophisticated end-to-end encryption was not broken by force, but bypassed by a subtle architectural deception, a blind carbon copy that proved to be the ultimate betrayal. The criminals, seeking invincibility, purchased their own vulnerability, placing their most damaging secrets into the hands of the very forces they were desperately trying to evade. This is the enduring paradox of the digital age, that the quest for perfect security can sometimes lead directly to the path of perfect exposure. Let your thoughts drift now to the quiet, conscientious people who found themselves caught in the machinery of this deception. The ordinary developers coding an enterprise app for what they believed was corporate compliance were entirely unaware they were building a digital Trojan horse for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The vast, intricate network of secrets required this compartmentalized blindness to survive, proving that sometimes the most effective way to keep a secret is to tell a convincing lie to all the people involved in its construction. Allow the sense of that massive, coordinated lie to simply fade now, feeling only the slow, rhythmic rise and fall of your chest. The operation itself, driven by the noble aim of preemptive justice, forced a constant, agonizing moral calculus. Remember the agents staring into the dark, green and black screen of the Hola iBot interface, relentlessly searching the endless stream of messages for the ultimate red flag, the threat to life. They were racing against the clock, fighting to translate fragmented evidence and coded slang into immediate, actionable warnings, constantly carrying the burden of knowing a simple missed detail could mean a high-profile, preventable murder. They successfully navigated the dangerous, self-perpetuating threat to life spiral, where every life saved inadvertently created a new, violent threat against a perceived informant. This was the perpetual ethical cost of intrusion, where an act of protection instantly generated the need for further intervention. Breathe now, slowly and deeply, and reflect on the quiet, unprecedented audacity of the state in becoming the secret architect of a criminal enterprise. The Federal Bureau of Investigation quietly funded the infrastructure, ensuring the ANOM network was robust and reliable, thereby guaranteeing the criminals full confidence in the tool that was actively betraying them. This act of facilitating crime to ultimately defeat it, while achieving a massive victory, permanently altered the ethical terrain of surveillance. The debate over whether the magnitude of the arrests truly justified the means, the systematic use of parallel construction to deceive the courts, the circumvention of constitutional firewalls, the institutionalized untruth, remains a profound, quiet shadow over the triumph of Operation Trojan Shield. But the operation also served as a profound, quiet affirmation of the absolute necessity of constitutional boundaries. Remember the strict Fourth Amendment firewall that prevented the Federal Bureau of Investigation from reading domestic ANOM messages, even when criminal activity was known to be present on United States soil. This line, held firm by senior legal officials, served as a crucial institutional defense of civil liberties, proving that even a massive criminal threat cannot erase the core constitutional right against unwarranted mass surveillance. This institutional decision reinforced a single critical principle: that even in the face of digital chaos, the rule of law must prevail over operational expediency. The quiet, thunderous conclusion of Operation Trojan Shield, the global line of dominoes falling across 100 countries, involving 10,000 police officers, was a spectacular end to one chapter, but it was merely the beginning of the next. The legacy of ANOM is not the final arrests, but the institutional knowledge that the state possesses the capacity and the will to replicate and repeat this digital deception. The question now moves from what happened to what endures. As your mind drifts further into rest, let the complexity of this vast, hidden world gently fade into the background. The battles waged in the lines of code, the quiet decisions made in dark rooms, the ethical compromises made in the pursuit of justice. All these threads weave the rich, strange tapestry of our connected existence. Feel the profound scale of this world, recognizing that even the seemingly simple tools we use carry the weight of global consequence. Allow your breathing to deepen, flowing slowly and smoothly. Release any lingering tension in your shoulders and neck, letting the intricate details of the narrative dissolve into the comfort of your surroundings. The digital world is vast, but your private space is secure. Your mind is quiet, and your body is heavy with rest. Tonight, you can rest secure in the knowledge that these dark wires have been exposed, their secrets brought into the calming light of understanding. The vigilance of the digital world is a constant one, but your time for quiet is now. Drift deeper into the slow, gentle rhythm of the night. Sleep is a quiet surrender, a restoration of the mind and body. Let the concepts of surveillance and security simply recede like a distant tide. There is only the silence of your own space now, the steady beat of your heart, and the profound, peaceful descent into deep rest. We are deeply grateful that you chose to share this quiet journey with us. This dedication to uncovering and sharing these intricate stories of the digital world relies entirely on your quiet support. If you found peace and intrigue in this unique exploration of the dark corners of the internet, we invite you to take a moment of quiet reflection now. Please consider quietly subscribing to our channel, allowing us to continue illuminating the most complex and secretive corners of our world, transforming high-stakes narratives into a soothing rhythm for your rest. And if these calming stories have brought you a moment of peaceful contemplation, please consider quietly sharing this episode with those who also seek a blend of curiosity and deep relaxation. Good night. Sleep well. The digital world waits until morning. For now, there is only the quiet of the fade.